Okay, let's talk about the immune system. We all have this incredible internal bodyguard, right? A microscopic army that's on duty 24/7, fighting to keep us safe. And it is, without a doubt, one of the most brilliant and complex systems in the entire universe.
I mean, just think about it for a second. This system spots and destroys countless threats every single day: viruses, bacteria, even our own cells when they go rogue. It's this wild network of cells and tissues all working together, doing surveillance, defense, and cleanup on a scale that is just, well, it's truly mind boggling.
And that's the big question we're tackling. What happens when this perfect protector gets confused, when the line between what's you and what's not you starts to blur, and our greatest defender becomes our most dangerous enemy? Let's get into it. So first, let's look at the immune system doing what it does best, acting as our guardian. And its power isn't just about protecting one person, it actually works to protect entire communities. This is where the idea of herd immunity comes in. You can think of it like a collective shield. When enough people in a community are immune to a disease, it basically creates a firewall. The infection just can't find new people to jump to, so it fizzles out. And this protects everyone, especially the most vulnerable folks among us who can't get vaccinated for whatever reason. And if you want to see the sheer power of that shield, look no further than smallpox. For 3,000 years, this virus was an absolute terror, killing about 1 out of every 3 people it infected. No treatment. Then, boom, in the 19th century, we get the first vaccine. That set the stage for this massive global vaccination program in the 20th century. By building a wall of herd immunity so strong, the virus literally had nowhere left to hide. And in 1980, it was declared completely eradicated. To this day, it's the only human disease we have ever wiped off the face of the planet. The success stories don't stop there either. Take polio. This was a disease that caused widespread paralysis, especially in kids. Well, since the big global vaccination push started back in 1988, we've seen a staggering 99% drop in cases. Herd immunity has pushed this awful disease to the absolute brink of extinction. But here's the catch. That firewall we talked about, it doesn't need to be the same strength for every disease. The more contagious a virus is, the stronger our collective shield has to be. For something incredibly infectious like measles, you need a sky-high herd immunity threshold. We're talking 95% or more. Anything less than that, and you start to see cracks in the wall. And this is exactly what happens when those cracks appear. For about 2 decades, global measles vaccination coverage was up around 86%, but after 2020, it slipped down to 81%. Now that might not sound like a huge drop, but look at the consequence: an 18% jump in measles cases just between 2021 and 2022. It's a stark reminder of just how fragile this collective protection really is. But the immune system isn't always the hero of the story. It has this dark side. A side where it flips from being a guardian to an internal betrayer. And that brings us to the world of autoimmunity. So it all comes down to this one crucial idea: self-tolerance. A healthy immune system is basically trained from birth to recognize your own cells and just leave them alone. But in an autoimmune disease, that training fails. The system loses its ability to tell friend from foe and launches a full-on friendly fire attack against the body's own healthy tissues. And this isn't some rare, bizarre thing. Not at all. Studies estimate that autoimmune diseases affect about 10% of the entire world's population. That is hundreds of millions of people whose own defense force has turned on them. So what causes this betrayal? Well, it's usually not just one thing. Researchers often call it a tripartite assault, a perfect storm of 3 factors. First, you might have a genetic predisposition. Certain genes, like HLA variants, can make you more susceptible. Second, some kind of environmental trigger shows up, maybe an infection or exposure to a chemical. And finally, those 2 things together cause the system's own checks and balances to break down. And this internal attack isn't just a single disease. In fact, scientists have identified over 100 different autoimmune diseases, and they can affect pretty much any part of the body you can imagine. We can sort of put them into 2 big buckets. You've got organ-specific diseases, where the immune system zeroes in on a single target. The classic example is type 1 diabetes, where the attack is just on the insulin-producing cells in the pancreas. Then you have systemic diseases, where the attack is all over the place. In lupus, for example, the immune system can go after the skin, joints, kidneys, you name it. And the results of these attacks are incredibly diverse.
In rheumatoid arthritis, the joints are the target. With psoriasis, it's the skin. In multiple sclerosis, the immune system attacks the protective coating on nerves in the brain and spinal cord. And like we said, with type 1 diabetes, it's the pancreas. Every one of these is a different battlefront in the exact same internal war. But here's the good news. The story doesn't end there. As we get better at understanding this internal betrayal, we're also getting much, much better at fighting back and trying to restore that fragile balance. And you can actually see our progress mapped out right here. We started with what you could call broad-spectrum drugs, like glucocorticoids. Powerful stuff, but it was kind of like carpet bombing the entire immune system. Then, we moved to molecular-targeted therapies, like anti-TNF drugs. These are more like smart bombs that hit specific inflammatory signals. And now, we're entering this incredible new era of cell-targeted therapies, which are basically like sending in a special ops team to take out only the problem cells. So let's zoom in on those smart bombs. We're talking about drugs like JAK inhibitors and monoclonal antibodies. Instead of just suppressing everything, they're designed to find and neutralize very specific molecules that are driving the inflammation. It's like they're intercepting the specific messages that are fueling that fire. This kind of precision can lead to way better results with fewer side effects. And that brings us to the real cutting edge, CAR T therapy. This is, well, it's just remarkable. Doctors actually take a patient's own immune cells, their T cells, out of their body. They genetically reprogram them in a lab to hunt down the specific rogue cells causing the disease, and then they put them back into the patient to carry out the mission. It's incredible. And the early results have been stunning. In some of the first trials for severe diseases like lupus, this approach has successfully wiped out the bad B cells that were causing all the problems. For some patients, this has meant a deep, long-lasting, drug-free remission. It's a potential game changer, a way to truly reset the immune system, not just hold it back. So we're really moving from using blunt instruments to using scalpels. We're learning how to tame our internal predator without completely disarming our guardian. But this all leads to one final, really important question for the future. As we gain the power to not just suppress, but to precisely edit our own immune systems, what new challenges, what new ethical questions are we going to face?